Let's assume that you just joined a new company and they're about to get into their first ever PI planning. And as an agile coach or a scrum master, they're trusting on you, they're believing on you, right? You have those years of experience and they need you to guide them what they should do or how they should be able to set their first PI. What exactly are you going to do? All right, let's ask the question in a different way. This might be a bit complicated, right? What exactly do you need to do before every PI as an agile coach, as a scrum master? Welcome to the Scrum chat room with Dr. Francis Sibunya. And today we're going to be doing PI planning. And this is going to be lesson one. I'm going to take this into series because I figure out that a lot of people kind of can find it a bit difficult to understand what PI planning is. But it's one of the simplest systems you can think of if you understand exactly what to do. I think the major challenge why a lot of people kind of find it difficult is because they kind of look at things from the team level, right? You're looking at user stories, you're looking at the product backlog, you're looking at, and then when we get to PI planning, which is a bit higher on the program level, it's like, okay, what are these guys talking about? I have no idea what to do. Okay, so the first thing to do, or if your manager say, okay, Francis, we're thinking about starting our first PI in the next month. What's your idea? What do you think we should do? Now, the first thing I want to ask the manager is that, okay, that's great. We're switching to PI. All right. Do we have a program backlog? Is our program backlog ready? The manager said, what exactly do you mean by a program backlog? Okay, Mr. Manager, PI planning is an opportunity for us to plan the program into iteration. So program backlog simply means what is priority for management within the circle. PI planning should be averagely about 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 8 weeks, good. But most often quarterly, it's also it's like a good period, many companies. Why don't we plan above 12 weeks? Why is 12, 10 weeks ideal? The goal for Agile is to be as predictive as much as possible. So the length, the more longer the period, the less we become more predictive. Now, PI will stand for Program Planning Increment. We are looking at a program, and when we look at program, we're looking at mostly quarter, right? When we look at iteration, we're looking at weeks or maximum 4 weeks. So the first question you should ask your manager, all right, is our program backlog ready? What exactly is a program backlog? And let's double check and see if we can make this conversation a bit more visual, right? Let's see if we can have a conversation as a team. Now, for every PI planning, the first thing you want to double check the program backlog and the agenda. So if I go ahead and share my screen with you, now this setup is on Miro, M-R M-I-O-R, Miro.com. And you can have your own Miro bot for free, right? Practicing it. Now, if I kind of zoom out my bot, all right, let me go to 50% and look right here. So the first question I asked my manager was, do we have a program backlog? So the program backlog should have at least top 10 features that have been prioritized, right? And we have the agenda. If we have the program backlog ready, then we can think about an agenda. Why is the agenda for the PI planning very unique? Why can we not just create any kind of agenda? It's very unique because it has been designed to effectively communicate the value of program planning. Now, unlike with your sprint or iteration, where the goal is to break maybe some of the features or bigger stories into smaller story and look at the work that we're going to complete in 2 weeks. With program planning, it's a bit more complex. When we work with complex stuff, we need to be very organized. We need to let people know what to expect. So when you ask your manager if the program backlog is ready, I'm going to talk a bit about the program backlog. The next thing is that, okay, then we can set up an agenda. Now we need to have an agenda. An agenda simply means that what is going to happen at what time, right? So the first aspect of getting ready for your PI is to get your agenda ready, get your backlog ready. Now, the agenda says that we need to have a business context for about 1 hour. When we talk about business context, what does it mean? We need to understand the business context. We are building this product, which is going out by the end of this year. And the reason this is so important for us is because we are moving towards the peak of the insurance season. So we need to make sure that this product is ready before 2023. And we are working with bigger clients that are going to love our product. So that's a business context. We're talking about business here. And the business context is given by someone at the executive level, not necessarily the CEO. The CEO sometimes are busy to even understand what's going on with the business, but someone with executive power. When we talk about executive, it's about portfolio, someone that understands exactly what needs to be done. Now, when we understand what needs to be done, then one of the manager, we call them product management, one of the manager comes in and give us the vision. The vision simply means that what are we looking forward to build? And how are we going to contextualize it within our PI circle? And then the technical guy will come and give you some of the technical aspect we're going to be building. And you see, all of these have the time board. And then we have now the planning context. Remember, the PI planning is facilitated by the release train engineer. The release train engineer is the one that facilitates the Agile release train. The Agile release train involves everyone working on a value stream. A value stream kind of outlines the product which we're going to build in terms of the business value it's going to deliver. So we can map out a value stream. A value stream simply means that what product are we going to be delivering? Who is going to be part of this product? What are the business goals we want to deliver? What are the business propositions we want to deliver? Who do we need in the team? What level do we need? How many teams do we need? And what is the timeline? So a value stream kind of outline step by step from upper management right down to team level what we are going to complete. So, a recap. We've spoken about a value stream. A value stream hosts an agile release train, right? And in a value stream, you can run 2 trains, right? It always encourages that each value stream should be run by 1 train, but a value stream can be run by 2 trains. Now, when we talk about a train is a group of people, group of teams, including management and leadership. All right. Now, it is advisable that we should keep our teams not more than 12 teams in a train. Why is the number kind of restricted? Easy management. When the crowd is too big, it's difficult to coordinate. Bottlenecks start getting in. Okay, we're going to get into deeper in our lesson 2. So I'm going to teach this lesson for 4 consecutive weeks. Watch out on next Friday. I'm going to be continuing from where I stopped today. But I'm not yet done for today, so let's move ahead with the learning. All right, so I stop here. Now, the facilitator of this agenda is the release train engineer. At this particular point, we are having the planning context. The planning context, which is where the release train engineer comes in. If your company do not have a release train engineer, then you, the Scrum Master, should be facilitating this, which is why I'm taking time to teach you this, right? So don't say, oh, this is not my job. The same way, when we work with Scrum Master, we also help them to understand what the product owner should be doing, what it means by breaking out the stories into iteration. So in that case, if your product owner is not there, you should be able to direct your team what to do. You should be able to suggest how they can move ahead with story sizing. So it's very important that we understand what is happening at all levels. All right. So right here, the release train engineer kind of come in with the planning context. When we're talking about the planning context, it's simply kind of, well, how many teams do we have? And how are we going to execute the futures, or how we're going to break down the futures into story? What is going to be the role of the Scrum Master, the role of the PO, the role of the team? So the release train kind of explain that. Now, this gives you an idea that prior to PI planning, there is what we call PI readiness. And part of the PI readiness is to be able to help your management, the release train, whosoever, to understand that we need to have our story ready. We need to have the business context ready. We need to have the product vision ready. So getting ready is just about going through this agenda and cross-checking with your manager if all of this is ready. All right. Now, at the end of day one, do we have capacity and resources that will be able to review what the team has been working on and suggest changes? Is this in place? Can we complete this by the end of day one? Have they blocked out the time? Day two is only effective if management is available to review what we call the program board and to suggest changes. Now, what is the program board? The program board kind of talk about how these top 10 futures, when we talk about top 10, it doesn't mean that it has to be 10, but it's advisable that we have top 10 futures ready, but we can only give to the team what they're capable of doing. So if they're capable of working on 8 stories, we give 8 futures, we give them 8 futures. 5, we give them 5 futures. And that's why capacity planning is one of the things every team should do before every PI. Now, the program board, this is when most of this future has been broken down into iteration and they are spread across board. Now you see Team A, Team B, Team C, Team D, and all of them are breaking down the futures that have been allocated to them into sub-futures. Let's say, for instance, we want to work on a future called research and development, R&D. Now you see here that we have R&D, research and development on the application, research and development on the market, research and development on the ecosystem. We also have research and development security, research and development user experience. So a future can still be broken down to sub-futures or more sub-future, which are bigger stories, right? And we can map out what futures is dependent on what futures. But we're not talking about the program, but today we're talking about the readiness. So let's get back to our agenda. So what happened after day one? Management reviewed this, and management is trying to look at what are the dependency that's occurring here. These strings simply show you which story need to be completed before what story and how we can collaborate with other teams. For instance, right here, you see that for this team to complete with system, team B to complete with this sub-future, they need to rely on what? On team C to complete R&D security and team D to complete R&D UX. So if these two teams doesn't complete this work in the first iteration, they're going to delay this team, right? Okay. So when we have all of this in place, what is going to happen? The management review that if we have too many dependency, they can suggest a revision. When they suggest a revision, what is happening? Now the team now rework on the plan. So the two breakout room. And this is where you, the Scrum Master, you're super active. You're super active guiding your team or facilitating how your team is going to break down these futures into story and ensuring that your team is honest enough to only plan what they can commit to, and to also ensure that there's no external pressure pushing your team to overcommit. If you do this effectively well, your team will be able to come up with a final plan within 2 days. And then they're also looking at program risk, confidence vote, and planning rework. We're going to go into details in all of this as we go into the different lessons. But what I wanted to share for today was some of the things that you do in order to get your team ready for PI. So PI readiness, it's about, I'm talking about the first PI. Now, if your team is already implementing PI, if you join an organization and they're already implementing PI, then the last iteration in every PI is called the innovation planning, where we try to get ready for the next PI. I'm going to talk about the innovation planning iteration in the next lesson 2, right? That's when your team is already doing PI. Today I was talking about if your team has never done PI, what should you be looking at? Number one, you're looking at, so our program backlog ready. You're looking at, is our agenda ready? Do we have a release train engineer? Is management available in the first day to be able to review what all the teams have done, right? You're looking at, okay, what are the tools that we need to be using? Are we doing our breakout rooms on Teams? Are we doing it on Zoom? If we're meeting in person, do we have all the areas for the breakout room ready? Do we have the business context ready? Do we have an executive member that will be giving us the business context? Do we have the product vision ready? Do we have someone for management that will give us the product vision? Do we have someone from the architectural team that will give us the architectural design? If all of this is in place, then what is going to happen next? Then we can think about, okay, we can get ready for the team. So when our backlog is ready, we can also talk about, all right, has the release train engineer already pre-informed the team what they should be working on? It's a good practice for our teams to at least know what they're going to be working on prior to every PI, not just to be surprised. It prepares them mentally, right? And this is some of the things they start doing in the IP iteration, which we're going to talk about in our next video. All right, if this actually makes sense to you, 2 things you need to do. Like, drop a comment, that's one thing. Like, drop a comment, that's one thing, right? The next thing, share. And if you want to be part of a community that does not just listen to this, but they can feel it in practice, they can be part of the practice, then you want to check out our School of Practice. Our School of Practice is for those who are still preparing to become Scrum Master. Our community of practice are for those who are already Scrum Master. None of this is free, right? You can have a discount for our community of practice if you're already practicing a Scrum Master. But for those who haven't been in a community of practice before, we definitely teach you all of this, because you need to know all of this before you get to work. So if you don't know all of this and you're starting a job, it's a big risk for you. You definitely want to get more info on that. Do not forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Do enjoy your weekend.